On Something to Talk About, the DOE Chamorro Studies Division is pushing for an immersion program to teach Guam students the language. Today, we're going to speak to a language revitalization expert from Hawaii who talks about how the Chamorro language is endangered, like it is in Hawaii. That's ahead on Something to Talk About. And thank you for joining us here at King's Restaurant in Tamuning. Of course, Something to Talk About is always here at this table with this food. Sometimes we have repeat guests, and we're so happy today to welcome back to the airwaves some of my favorite people from the Department of Education. It's from Chamorro Studies and Special Projects Division. We've got, of course, Rufina Mendiola and Jimmy Santos Terrier. Thank you for coming. And a special guest all the way from the Big Island, UH Hilo, a language revitalization expert, Dr. William Pila Wilson. Yes?
Yes.
It's nice to have you. Half a day to you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, half a day. Tau Guahan.
Well, look at that.
Wait. Guahu si William Wilson.
Nice.
We then Hilo, Hawaii. Maulik. Class, Chamorro, Guizan, Guam. So I've learned from the experts here, but I must say that I didn't listen perfectly, so I missed a few little things there, I think.
Yeah, that's okay, but we got the gist of it.
Okay. I've been really, really impressed by all the work that they're doing in the schools. We've been to the elementary schools, intermediate, high schools, and we don't have anything as comprehensive as you have here in Hawaii. It's really...
Well, I tell you, when somebody announces you as a language revitalization expert, do you feel like you've got to really give a lot of something there? I mean, it's a deep title. It comes with a lot of other things attached to it.
Yes, because the languages of the Pacific are all endangered now. You know that Westernization is coming in, and people are changing to. Well, in Guam and in Hawaii to English, and like in French Polynesia to French. And so what's going to happen? Are these native languages going to continue? And so that's why I wanted to see the programs that are here, but I also came to testify before the Board of Education about immersion. So immersion is something that we've done in Hawaii for about 30 years now, and it's been real successful, but it's for, we only have about 3,000 kids in it, so. But they're speaking Hawaiian and using it, and they still speak English and go to college. So it's a promising new practice, and the board approved it.
The draft immersion program is, it has been implemented. You are shopping it, basically? Is that really, are you shopping it around? The concept?
The draft, it's a draft master plan, and it was fully endorsed by 6 of the board members. But it started in 2013.
The genesis of the project was based on the Programan FADZI, which is the Chamorro Adept program, and it's really to find ways to improve our Chamorro teaching. And this is 100% federally funded under the Title V Consolidated Grant application.
Well, that's helpful.
Yes, so we were able to secure some funds to draft this plan, and we were able to work in partnership with Pacific Resources for Education and Learning, PREL, and Dr. Wilson was served as an advisor to them. And so every time they would draft something up, they would seek his advisement. And so that's how it was able to go through. And then for the most part, it was really to look for ways to improve our Chamorro teaching. Immersion has been around for 30 years, as he's mentioned, and we've been experimenting with it. So now we have this plan in place to try and push forward a different style of teaching and to really enhance our current program so that we
Yeah.
can strengthen and produce more Chamorro language speakers.
I have to ask you, when at the advent of this concept in Hawaii to try to sell speaking Hawaiian to Hawaiians, what was that like? What were the kind of challenges that you ran up against?
Yeah, well, we had a different history than here where the Department of Education has been real supportive. Ours came out of a small group of families that were worried that the language was going to completely disappear. The oldest fluent speakers in Hawaii were born before 1920. So there's a big difference here. I hear people speaking Chamorro, you know, and people can understand it. We didn't have that. So it was kind of a desperate situation. And it was also illegal to use Hawaiian in the schools from the time of annexation.
So we have the same sort of
Yes,
history.
yes,
There's a
yes.
parallel to that too,
That's
yeah.
right.
Which is kind of the same for all indigenous languages.
Right.
Okay, so once you're occupied in some form or fashion, your language goes first.
Yes.
Communication goes first. Okay.
Yes, and I'm not Native Hawaiian myself, but my
No.
wife is. Yeah. So
Yeah.
in her family, they had that kind of a history of losing the language, and so she became really, dedicated to this, and I got into it with her, and so we decided to raise our children speaking Hawaiian, and there weren't any families that were doing that.
Was this now? I'm sorry. Was this on the Big Island, or was this?
It was on the Big
Oahu?
Island. We were teachers of Hawaiian language, similar to what is happening here in Guam. We visited some college courses, community college, so we had that kind of thing, and young people were getting interested, which I'm also seeing here. Like the young people here are really enthusiastic. So anyway, we started like that, and we decided to speak Hawaiian with our own children at home, and then we started these preschools. And it was illegal, but the people of Hawaii were not opposed to the Hawaiian language. It was just a federal thing. So the state changed the law, and we moved into the public schools. And it was an experiment.
It was illegal for you to run a Hawaiian speaking only preschool.
Yeah, it was illegal to use Hawaiian as a medium of education. You could have like the Japanese schools, the foreign language
Yeah.
schools.
There's
but
a lot of them there.
But you
Yeah.
couldn't have the
Wow.
Hawaiian language school.
Oh, that's interesting. And that was only how long ago?
1986, we changed
Well,
the
that's
law.
not very. You think?
Yeah, so,
Okay, I didn't know we were talking about something so modern and recent.
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But we did move into the schools, and the big question was, will they speak English, and will they be able to succeed academically? But the people who were involved in it, we didn't know if it was going to work, but we were really focused on the language. It was kind of like a spiritual journey in the sense of it was so important to maintain this connection to family and place. But the results were really good academically, and they all spoke English, and
Wow.
so it worked out
What
pretty
did
well.
that lead to then?
Well, it led to growth, more and more schools, and led to kind of like a national movement with American Indians, with our Senator Inouye. You may have remembered him. He introduced a law called the Native American Languages Act that took away the federal restrictions, and we included all the Native peoples, including Guam, because we in Hawaii knew what it's like to be kind of left out, and so he put that in, and it passed, and so now there's kind of a source of funding and federal support that hopeful that people here can be able to tap into.
You didn't find that there was the pushback or challenge coming from the politics of it as much as there was a challenge to financially? Was that more just the concept, introducing the concept of immersion? Was there any pushback from people who said, oh, we just can't have it, it's not going to work here? Or was it a money thing? We'd love to do it, but we can't afford it.
It's always a money issue for
Yeah.
anything, but with the journey that we've had with this program, the master plan, we really have a very positive impact for anybody that we've met and talked about. they've been very supportive. They do, a lot of them wants to see something like this happen. And some of them are willing to give their full support. So we have yet to touch the whole community, but we do have some people already that have been committed to help us. And you know, we hope that the island of Guam are listening today, because this is something that's good for Guam, good for our kids to start producing speakers for the next generation.
You said that it improves the teaching methods or the tools for teaching Chamorro. Is it in the schools that we're talking about in DOE? Because we already
Yes.
have.
Yeah, we
We
already
do
have.
have
requirements.
Chamorro instruction in the school system, but at the same time,
It's-
we're not yielding the results that we like to see. A lot of the questions that we've been addressed with is, is it producing speakers? And we have a amazing program for that whatever time allotments that we have currently, but at the end
not
of the
enough.
day, it's not enough time to produce speakers. So through the research and through the literature, the plan outlines some of the best practices of indigenous language revival. And so we've been looking at the Hawaiian model as something to help with our language revitalization efforts, because we have a lot of adult speakers, we have a lot of Manamku speakers, but we don't see a
There's
whole
a
lot.
generation gap.
Yeah,
There's a huge generation gap.
And so
I want to talk about that, and I want to see what the parallels were between those you're talking about that spoke Hawaiian, you know, in their homes. Where did they come from? What parts of, you know, what parts of the islands did they come from? And then try to work out just how we're going to, based on their model, introduce that into the classroom here, right? That's kind of what we want to do. All right, we're going to take a quick break here because we have Kelegwin and Kanalangkatni to
Manye.
eat, so we're going to be right back.
San Manye.
And we're back with our friends from the DOE Chamorro Studies and Special Projects Division. And we've also got a special guest with us, Pila Wilson. You said by the end of the day I'd be calling you that. It's nice to have you here, and thank you for enlightening us, I think, about the model that you're talking about. Can we just sort of define what immersion really means?
it's basically having the medium of instruction in the target language. So the target language in our school system is English. It's entirely done in English. So we're going to reverse that with a Chamorro immersion program.
With the
The matter,
content,
the medium of instruction will be completely in Chamorro for the duration of the school day.
For a particular time, or it's
For the
moment you
entire-
walk into the
It'll be full immersion from the moment you walk in the
Step
door
on that class.
until you leave the classroom.
But the instruction is not necessarily in Chamorro?
It
or
will
is
be
still-
entirely. It
All
will
in
be
Chamorro.
Is
math will be in Chamorro.
Science
will be in Chamorro.
Social studies.
Chamorro will be in Chamorro.
Will it? Are we talking about pilot schools?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Oh yeah, it's just we're really at the infancy stage or at
Yeah.
the embryo stage in terms of planning, because the first step was to get the plan approved. So we were thankful for the Department of Education, Guam
Board.
Education Board to approving it, and so Ondonklu Nesijus Masi to all those that were in favor of it, and it really highlights the importance of our language in the school system, number one, and number two, we hope to learn a lot from the model in Hawaii and just push forward in bringing back our languages to our children, because at the end of the day, when we don't have any Chamorro speaking children, the language will eventually fade away.
Where was it, and probably in both cultures, where was it that we got that break, the generation? I know that there was a generation of people who came from the war that were, when we were occupied by enemy forces, couldn't speak the language.
We were fine. I remember maybe my great-grandmother paid a fine when she speaks Chamorro. So we want to bring back what the cause is, and now we need to move forward with using and making our language more powerful now today, more so because we're building a new generation. So what had happened to our great-grandparents, we don't wanna repeat that same thing. So we wanna continue that, and because we're losing a lot of our Manomko now.
Yeah.
You know, we only have a very few of them. So this is a good time now to get their knowledge before they're gone, and impart their knowledge with our school. We want to merge the Manomko into the pilot program, and get a lot of their wisdom.
Where was the gap in Hawaii, you think?
Well, it's, the thing about paying the fine, I heard many people who were punished for speaking Hawaiian, and so, but again, it was at a different time in Hawaii. It was earlier in the early 1900s. So by the time we were involved, we were kind of desperate. We didn't have as many speakers as you do here. So the idea of immersion was to bring back the idea of going to school in Hawaiian, which existed in the 1800s. So we had kind of like a model already that we could follow. We had some old school books, but of course they were,
Yeah.
Guam was part of Spain, and then the United States stopped at the Mississippi River. It really wasn't very useful, but we had math books, and so we started with that. Again, people were really worried that the children might not speak English because they're going to school all in Hawaiian. But we do teach English. We wait until 5th grade, but by then they're already reading English on their own, which is really interesting. They surprised us because they learned to read in Hawaiian first, but then they just transferred that and started reading English.
There's also a kind of unique situation in Hawaii because you do have the Bishop Estate, you do have the Trust, and you do have Kamehameha schools, and that is an immersion program, but it's private and it's exclusive.
Yes, well, when Kamehameha schools at one time was very not in favor of the Hawaiian language. In the 1800s, they were punished for speaking Hawaiian there as well, and even into the 1960s, when my wife was there, they couldn't dance hula at the school. So it really wasn't leading this movement, but now they're very supportive. But they do not have an immersion program within their school right now. But what is happening is the immersion students, when they hit intermediate school, a lot of them are being recruited into the private schools because they're doing well academically and they're respectful. That's one thing I want to say about the kids in Guam. I've been really impressed. In the Chamorro classes that I visited, the kids are really so well behaved and respectful. And that's the thing that the immersion schools are known for too. The kids are really well behaved.
Well, I mean,
And
the language transcends the culture.
And with our immersion program, it's the values. It's built upon the inafamolik and the respect.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if you notice it or if you think it, if you feel that in the community, what the trends are for this generation change that we have, where you're finding more millennials, wanting to reconnect. And I don't know if it's because our environment is changing so much. With more, we've got another, revitalization of the military here, that we feel a need to hang on to as much of the culture as we can.
Right.
Are you seeing that?
Yes, I have seen it, and I've witnessed it with my own daughter, my youngest one. She has a new, born, and ever since my grandson was born, he's already 11 months today. She spoke to him in Chamorro. I speak to him in Chamorro. And she really wants to be the pedal now of the perpetuating of the language. And even with my class, when I mentioned Dr. Pila Wilson coming in to speak to them about something about the immersion program that's working in Hawaii, and we want to bring it to Guam, a lot of them that have newborn, they say they want to enroll their kids already. So we see a movement from our generation today.
Will the immersion program be? You said pilot schools. Do you have to ease into it, or how many pilot schools are you going to lead up to, or are you going to open them all at the same time?
We'd have to start very small, and we'd have to look for an environment that it will open their arms and embrace us, because we don't want to force this program upon any school that is not wanting to build relationship with this type of instruction. We've been communicating with principals, we've been meeting with principals. We've been talking and really presenting the information that we have with this immersion plan, and so we're opening it up to principals that would welcome something like this. And we've had several conversations about possible sites, but we still need to gather the families, because families will be the determining factor of this program. We're looking for.
Do you find that there's a specific area on Guam where this might be more welcome than it would be maybe the southern schools versus the northern schools or central schools?
According to our survey, it's actually reflecting more of the northern and central areas. Simply because the population is more in the northern and central. It's larger.
And maybe there are fewer people who speak the language, right?
And so we've been looking at a very central location so that it can have access to both parts of the island. But at the same time, we're looking for a place where we can grow. And hopefully, once those things are ironed out, we'll be meeting with the community members and start the process in enrolling students, or possible meetings in terms of what they can expect from this type of programming, because it is a very different approach from our regular school system.
What these kinds of programs, in your opinion, when you start off at this time in our history of Guam, and at this time in our just where we are in this point in time, do you see a danger of the language dying if you start off slower than we might have wanted to start off? Or do languages die when there's an effort all in place?
Well, I think sometimes it's unwise to do a shotgun and not really start small. I really commend the department for thinking about starting small, because you want to prove that it works and kind of get rid of all the kinks before you start spreading it out. So in Hawaii, we did have something like that, but it was more of like a natural thing because we didn't have a plan. We didn't have really a supportive Board of Education. So they tried in 2 schools, one in Honolulu, one in Hilo, which is very similar to what we're talking about, the places that had the least, the city areas. And then after they started getting successful, it moved out to the other communities. The big challenge for us in Hawaii has been teachers. I think that's going to be a challenge here too. So you don't want to just start out and you don't think about preparing teachers and getting everybody and materials. But I want to say what I said when I started. I've been really impressed with just the general teaching of Chamorro language and culture in the schools. The department here has really worked on in-service and preparing materials, and we haven't had that in general in Hawaii for the general population.
Does the Chamorro Studies Division then, what is the danger of the two of you not being there anymore? This is set in stone, and these programs are set to last maybe after
for a lifetime. Yeah, we don't want it to end when we leave.
Yeah.
So we do have a lot of interest within our teachers themselves. They see how they can move forward in case one goes out, So, and the good thing about our program and our division is that we always provide professional developments to give them new ideas, methodologies, and also the materials that they're given. The curriculum is something that we can move forward and enhance and with our standard. We do have the Common Core already in line with our curriculum. The math and the science is within. So it's nothing so hard to work on with the new master plan.
Well, we're going to be watching the progress intensely.
Definitely.
Thank you very much for taking the time and presenting to our board and hanging out with us. This face you can see all over the island. He'll be all over that.
And we want him back.
Got the best tour guides.
And thank you for the wonderful Chamorro food.
Yes,
and
it's a chesa
King's Restaurant in Tamuning.
Thank you, King's
Just
Restaurant. And thank you very
Just
much. We'll see you next time.
Adios.